Hello and welcome to Cupcake Addiction's best ever cake pop recipe, where I'll be showing you how to make this gorgeous, really sturdy and really stable chocolate flavoured cake pop. So let's get started. Now the base ingredients for our cake pop recipe today, we've got some dark chocolate, we've got some whipping cream, so that's got about a 40% milk fat. It is quite a heavy cream and it's the type of cream that you'd normally whip to use with a dessert. That's the basics for our cake pop ingredients along with our cake. Now I'm going to leave all of your measurements and quantities in the description box below. I'm just using cupcakes today because I always bake them, so I've always got plenty around, but you can also use a whole cake or even a store-bought cake for this. Because I'm going to turn them into some gorgeous little cake pops as we go through this tutorial, I've also got some sprinkles. I've got some Jaffas, which are an Australian chocolate, but you can also use red M&Ms or red peanut M&Ms for a similar effect. Some Lollypop sticks, some melted dark chocolate for dipping. I've got a microwave safe bowl and just a couple of spoons. So let's get started. Now the first thing we're going to do to make our cake pop mix is we're going to take that chocolate, just tip it into the bowl, and we're just going to pour the cream over the top. Just pour all of that cream in. Now that's going to go off into the microwave for a minute. I'm going to microwave that for 1 minute and then stir it, and then another minute and then stir it until that cream and chocolate is completely dissolved and that chocolate has completely melted through the cream. But do make sure that you just do it for 1 minute intervals on just a medium-high speed in the microwave. All right, so that's what it looks like after our first minute. So just take your spoon and just gently stir it around. So you can see there that chocolate's melting and it's starting to really blend in through that cream. Give it a good stir until you're happy that you've stirred all you can, and then it goes back into the microwave for another minute. All right, so after our second minute in the microwave, this is what you've got. Now I'm pretty happy that that's all going to melt through nicely, so don't be tempted to over microwave it. Make sure that you do give it a really good stir in between. You don't want to burn that chocolate, so I'm going to stir that and I'm pretty confident that all those lumps and bumps are going to come out. This cake pop recipe is one of my absolute favourites. We have made cake pops in the past with buttercream and they work and they're a fantastic recipe, but I've been making mine with ganache lately just because it's a lot thicker and it sets a lot firmer. So rather than getting that really sweet frosting taste of your regular buttercream cake pops, what you end up with is a really rich fudgy cake pop, almost more like a truffle. And it just seems to hold its shape a lot better. It's really good for the different shaped cake pops. So your sort of all your different characters and things like that we make on our channel, My Cupcake Addiction. If you want to see some great cake pop decorating tutorials for this awesome recipe, make sure that you head on over to our channel once this tutorial is finished and have a look. We've got so many great ideas for decorating your cake pops. All right, so I'm happy that my kind of ganache mixture there is nice and smooth. So I'm going to pop that off to the side until we're ready to use it. Now here comes the messy part. So make sure that you've got clean, dry hands. If you're using a full cake, just chop it up into smaller portions. It's just going to help to make it a little bit easier to crumble up. So I just like to take the two cakes and just crumble them together. You can crumble them in your hands. It's always just a little bit easier if you sort of use one cake to crumble another. It's a little bit quicker. You can also just pop all of this together in a food processor and blend it up until it's fully combined. But not everyone's got a food processor, so I like to do it sort of both ways here. You want to make sure that that cake is really nice and finely crumbled in your bowl before you go adding any of that ganache. So I'm happy that I've got a really nice fine crumb there with my cake. So now it's going to be as simple as taking your chocolate and cream mixture and just pouring it over. Now I like to pour about 2/3 of it in, and this is just because the amount of cake you're going to have is going to vary slightly depending on how dry or how moist that cake is. So I like to just pour in about 2/3, stir it around, and just have a look at that consistency. So what you're looking for is you want to combine it all, but what you want is a consistency where you're going to be able to roll it into balls and it's going to be able to kind of hold its shape. You can't really add too much when it comes to ganache, but just to be on the safe side, just start with that little bit, see how your consistency is coming up, and you can see there that cake is just sucking in all of that cream and dark chocolate mixture. All right, so to test your mix, just grab a little piece of it, bit of a chunk there, and just press it between your fingers, so sort of compact it a little bit, and then roll it in the palm of your hand. If it sticks quite easily, you can see there mine's sticking, but it's See that? It's just crumbling a little bit. If it sticks and forms a ball shape quite easily, give it a couple of rolls, then it's ready to go. But mine's just cracking a little bit and it's not quite there yet. So I am going to add in the rest of my ganache. Ganache is great because when it's refrigerated and when it sets, it actually sets really quite firm. So not like a chocolate, a full chocolate, but it helps to keep the firmness of your cake pop balls, which just improves stability when you're dipping and decorating and reduces the risk of cracking and falling off the stick, which is probably two of the main problems people seem to have with cake pops. I know I do. All right, so now what you've got is this really dark mix, and you can see how those cake crumbs, they've almost halved in size, so you've really absorbed all of that gorgeous ganache. If you have any trouble rolling your balls at this stage, put the whole mix in the fridge for about 15 minutes, then bring it back out and start rolling. Sometimes it can just be a little bit too warm or a little bit too moist, and you just need to give it a little bit of time in the fridge just to firm up. So if you're starting to roll your different shapes and your different balls and you're not having any luck, stick it in the fridge, 15 minutes, bring it out, and I almost guarantee that you'll have success. So I always line whatever I'm going to put in the fridge on with a little bit of parchment paper or baking paper because they do stick when they're setting. And now I'm just going to take just a bit of a spoonful. So I've got a tablespoon. I'm going to pop about sort of, I guess, a decent tablespoon on it. And everyone's cake pop sizes are going to vary. But you can see there when I roll that, really nice. Holds its shape beautifully, rolls a really nice ball. Now don't worry if it's not a perfect ball shape at this stage. It's going to get a little bit of a flat bottom as it sets anyway, and then we can refirm up that shape. So you want to roll all of your cake pop balls, and then we're going to pop them off into the fridge for about 15 minutes just so that they can firm up. So like I said, it can be messy work, but if you're making these with kids, they're going to absolutely love it because who doesn't like to get a little bit messy with the kids while cooking? So I'm going to take those sort of lumpy balls, pop them in the refrigerator for 15 minutes, and then I'm going to bring them out and we're going to shape them perfectly and dip them and decorate. All right, so we've come back from the fridge and your cake pop balls are now feeling firm to the touch. So they're not completely solid. You don't want them to be refrigerated for hours, just 15, 20 minutes at the most is enough. But when I push them, they don't easily push out of shape. Now you are going to notice that you've got a little bit of a flat bottom on the bottom of your cake pops. So you want to just take them in your hand and just reshape them as you roll them into really nice balls. So I'm just rocking them around or rolling them around in the palm of my hand and making them into quite a nice ball. Now they don't have to be perfect and they don't have to be exactly sized, but if I do have one tip for you on cake pop balls, it's don't make them too big. So too often people are very, very keen to make these great big cake pops, but once you add your decorations, it adds about 30% extra size to your cake pop balls. So you kind of think, yeah, that's about the size that I think it should be, but then you add all of your decorations and they end up being gigantic. If they're too big, they'll be too heavy and they'll fall off the stick. So you want something a bit smaller than a golf ball, maybe about ping pong ball size. All right, so you get the general idea with those balls and how to get them to that lovely, round, smooth shape. I won't worry too much about doing the rest of them. And now it's time to get dipping and decorating. So you've got your Lollypop sticks and you're going to take your ball. I always like to use the bottom that's been sitting on the tray. It's normally just a tiny, tiny bit flatter. So just give your chocolate a little stir with that stick and just put about 1 centimetre or so of that chocolate on the stick. Now take the stick and push it into the bottom of the cake pop ball just over halfway. So you can see there now you've got this nice little chocolate seal. So I'm going to set that back on the tray. I'm going to put it back into the fridge for a further 5 minutes, and that's just going to let that chocolate seal set. The chocolate seal is very important and it is kind of what holds everything together. So you want to make sure that your chocolate seal is looking lovely and firm before you go decorating. All right, so we're back from the fridge or the freezer, wherever you've decided to set your cake pop balls, and you'll know they're set because this little seal will be completely firm to touch. When you touch it, it shouldn't drip. There should be absolutely no stickiness to it. Your chocolate seal will be completely firm, completely set. So you want to take your chocolate. Now I've just given that another microwave just to make sure that it is really nice and fluid. And you're going to take your cake pop ball and we're just going to dip it straight into the center, and I like to just rotate it. Now whenever you dip a cake pop ball, you want to make sure that your chocolate that you're dipping it into goes over that chocolate seal that you've just set in the freezer, And that's just to make sure that it's all completely encased. Now, you want to tap it off and you also want to turn it. So you want to tap your wrist, not the actual stick itself. You don't want to tap too hard here. And as I'm tapping, I'm also rotating the pop like this. So that just is going to give you a nice even distribution of chocolate, and it's going to make sure the chocolate drips off in a nice even way. So you can let that set and you can decorate it with maybe some different colored chocolate or some candy melts, but I'm going to show you just a really quick and easy decoration technique for really fast, easy kids' birthdays, baby showers, pretty much anything you can think of. This is a great cake pop decorating technique for. So I'm happy that that's pretty well starting to set, but it's not set yet. So depending on what you want to do, you might have to work relatively quickly here. I'm also going to use a polystyrene block to set my cake pop in, so to rest it in while it's setting. You can also use flour foam or something like that, and there are actual cake pop stands on the market. So now I'm going to take my sprinkles and I'm just going to sprinkle them on just the top half of my cake pop. Around they go. And then I'm going to take one of those cherries, Jaffas or red M&Ms and just sit it on top. I'm going to finish that off with a lovely ribbon, and you can see there what you end up with is an absolutely delightfully gorgeous, simple little cake pop. I hope that you guys have enjoyed watching this tutorial as much as I've enjoyed making it for you today, and I hope this cake pop recipe will become your new favourite. Thanks very much for watching.